I'm so excited slash a little sad that that this is gonna be our last session together. If we didn't answer your specific question, there is some variation of it, and we're gonna do a lot more deeper dive tonight. So our first question, I'll just dive right on in. Our first question is actually from Patricia. And she says, some mornings the meditation practice was very hard to focus on. During those times, do you just forgive yourself, shorten the session, and move on? Or should I try and force myself to stick out the full 12 minutes? Okay, so great question, Patricia. And a couple of things. So basically, one of the big premises of the M word technique is that we don't meditate to get good at meditation. We meditate to get good at life. And what I really am saying when I say that is that you don't have to focus when you're meditating. So inside of this question is the words, I'm having a hard time focusing when I'm meditating. Now I understand why you have this question, because a lot of us think that that's the point of meditation, is to focus or to clear the mind, but not in this style of meditation. Okay, that's a much more monastic practice. And so what I want you to do is I want you to give yourself full permission to have as many thoughts as you want to, or as the mind wants to, during the meditation. Please, 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 everyone, please stop trying to focus while you meditate. It's not the point of this particular style of meditation. And if you try, you're always going to feel like you're failing, and then you're going to quit. Hear me when I say this, you guys. I've taught almost 5,000 people to meditate, 2,000 of them face to face, and none of us will do anything for very long that we feel like we're failing at. And if you're judging yourself based on how good you are at meditation, at how good you are at focusing during it, you're always going to feel like a failure, and I give you like another week or two. And then this whole 33 days together, it won't be a waste, but it's just you're not going to keep meditating. So instead, just let your mind have as many thoughts as it wants to. The thing here is that the mind is going to wander, and then you just gently come back to whatever technique that you're using. So if you're on the senses, then you come back to the senses. If you're on the love bomb, you come back to the love bomb. If you're in the effortless silence, then you easily come back to the word one. But that's a great question. You're not alone. Lots and lots of people have that same issue. All right, so, and then the next question is sort of a variation on the same question. It's from Kim, and she said, is it normal for one's mind to take over during a meditation? I've experienced variations where my mind prompts me to move through the senses more quickly, or to stay in the effortless silence longer. So Kim, this is a-okay. If you're finding that one of the sections is getting a little longer and one of them is getting a little shorter, that's okay. But I want us to reframe how we're thinking about my mind is taking over, right? It's the nature of the mind to think. The mind thinks involuntarily, just like the heart beats involuntarily. So just let the mind wander, and then you just come back to whatever technique it is. But if you're noticing that the senses are a little bit shorter, or the effortless silence wants to be a little bit longer, that's a-okay. No worries there at all. And then Nia says, I am struggling with keeping a daily practice. I seem to be more of a 5 days a week kind of woman. I get a little stressed that I'm not doing it quite right, and tend to beat myself up for not being able to commit fully to a daily practice. Any advice? Go easy on yourself and keep practicing? So Nia, okay, good question. You're not alone. So here's the only thing that's hard about meditation. It's getting your buns in the chair. Like, that is the beginning and the end of what is challenging about a meditation practice. It's just stopping the inertia of your day and getting to the chair. Everything else is ridiculously simple and ridiculously easy. And so what I would recommend that you do is set an alarm in your calendar for every day. Schedule it just like you would an appointment with your lawyer or a date with your best friend. You got to put it in your calendar. You have to actually carve the space out in your schedule. You have to make an appointment with yourself, and then you got to keep that appointment, because it builds integrity, right? Like, even if this whole meditation thing was just a load of malarkey, just you making an appointment with yourself and keeping it builds integrity. And so I don't want you to be a 5 days out of 7 meditator. I don't want you to be an occasional meditator. That's not the gig, right? The thing is, it doesn't matter how great this training is. It doesn't matter how great meditation is. If you don't actually do it, you're not going to get any benefit. And the beautiful thing about meditation is that the more regular you are, the more days in a row that you have of practice, practice, the more cumulative the benefits. So don't negotiate with yourself on this. I want you to put meditation in the non-negotiable category, just like brushing your teeth, just like washing your face, just like eating food and sleeping. You don't go a day without brushing your teeth. I don't want you to go a day without meditating. And don't get stressed about it. No guilt. Just do it. Like literally just do it. If you're mad about not meditating, if you're feeling stressed about not meditating, then meditate. Just do it. Really, truly. Just walk away from your phone, walk away from your work, walk away from whatever's going on and close your eyes and just do it. The hardest part is stopping the inertia of your day. But once you do that, once you actually close your eyes, the rest of it just sort of happens almost on its own. But I'm really glad you asked because you're not alone. Okay, so William asks, during the effortless silence portion of the meditation, there are days, not always, that I'm impatient and I cannot sit still. So far it has passed and I have not stopped meditating. Good job, William. But this impatience is becoming more amplified. I find it difficult to remain silent. Do you have any advice? Okay, so William, I'm going to assume that by remaining silent, you mean that you're trying to get your mind to remain silent. And hopefully you heard me when I answered those other two questions, because I'm assuming you're not actually like making noise. You're not talking about like getting up and having a conversation during your meditation. I'm assuming you're talking about like silencing the mind. So I would invite you to go back and watch like days 1 through 7 of the M word technique of part 1, and just really refresh yourself on the fact that thoughts are not the enemy. Now, you guys are not alone, because there's this guy going around telling everybody that in order to meditate, we have to stop our minds from thinking. And so these beliefs are really deep inside of us. And now that you guys are like 33 days in, you've probably forgotten what I said from days 1 through 5 about like, don't try to clear your mind. Thoughts are not the enemy. And so I want you to go back and refresh yourself on those videos. So it is difficult to remain silent because the mind thinks involuntarily, just like the heart beats involuntarily. And the more you're in your meditation trying to remain silent, the more frustrating it's going to be and the faster you're going to quit. Okay? So instead, what I want you to do is just let the mind think. Just let your mind take all those mental field trips. When you realize that you're taking them, that's your cue to innocently, gently float back to the word one. Yeah, good. And here's another really important point, and this goes for everybody. The longer we meditate, the more you're going to start noticing that those deep restful states, that bliss field that you access during that effortless silence and your waking state, those states of consciousness are going to start to blend, which basically means that the right and left hemispheres are starting to integrate. And so while a lot of us think, well, the point of meditation is to really get deep and to get into some deep cosmic abyss of black hole nothingness, actually the opposite is going to start happening. You're going to start finding that your waking state and that bliss field are going to start integrating. And over time, your meditations are going to get increasingly more shallow. They're going to get increasingly more thought-filled. So if you're judging yourself about how good you are at meditation based on how deep your meditation is, again, you're always going to feel like you're failing. And over time, you're going to feel like you're failing even more because you're going to start having more and more thoughts. So what we have to do right here, right now, is we got to reframe what we consider to be a successful meditation. And please, please, you guys, hear me when I say this. Do not judge yourself based on how deep or shallow the sitting was. Instead, I want you to start look at, how's your life? How creative are you? How kind are you? How present are you? How's your sleep? How's your rage? How's your anxiety? How's your intuition? That's what I want you to start to judge, not how many or few thoughts was I having while I was sitting. Because over time, as the right and left hemispheres of the brain start integrating, the more shallow these meditations are going to feel. Now, the reality is that you're not actually more shallow. You're starting to experience this simultaneity of consciousness to where you start being deep and shallow at the same time. And this is an indicator that that corpus callosum is thickening, and which is the bridge between the waking state and that sort of bliss field, deep, connected feeling. So really good questions, you guys, but you're noticing probably like a variation on a theme. Okay, so Tekla says, how do you manage a strong feeling that keeps intruding and pulling your attention away from the meditation practice? Even when you observe it, it keeps you from returning to the practice. Okay, so again, variation on a theme. Tekla, nothing can pull you away from a meditation practice. You can only have a distraction if you have an agenda of where you think you need to be. I'm going to say that again. You can only be distracted during your meditation if you have an agenda of where you think you need to be. So if you have an agenda of getting deep, or if you have an agenda of trying to have a silent, thought-free, feeling-free meditation, then anything you have is going to feel like it's pulling you away from the meditation. So again, we got to reframe this, you guys. We got to pull the lens of our awareness way back. We got to include everything that's happening as perfect and meant inside of the meditation. And every time it's an opportunity, every time you become aware of the fact that you're doing your taxes or thinking about your ex-boyfriend or having a really intense sensation, great, all good. Just float back to the technique. So there's that. But let's say it's really, really intense. Like there's water coming out of your eyes, or you're crying, or you've got like an intense pain in your knee, or your heart starts racing and it feels like you're having panic attacks or something. Here's what you can do in that instance. Put the technique down. So whatever part of the M word practice you're on, just put the technique down, but keep your eyes closed, and then scan the body from the top of the head to the bottom of your feet and just notice what's the most prevalent sensation happening for you right now. And if your heart is beating, just let it beat. Just let it say whatever it needs to say to you. It'll soften, and then you can scan the body again. What's the next most prevalent sensation? If there's butterflies in your stomach, just let them flutter, and then they'll talk to you, they'll get louder, and then they'll dissipate, and then scan the body again. If you do that 3-4 times, usually then you're back in your body, and then you can float back to the technique. So that's like if you're at like a 9 out of 10. If you're in like a Mayday situation and you're really feeling like, whoa, I'm feeling overwhelmed by emotion or physical pain or something, then do that technique. Otherwise, if it's just thoughts, then it's all good. You just gently float back to wherever you are. Amazing. So Gloria says, if I want to meditate twice a day, on the second time, can I go straight to effortless silence, or do I need to do the entire 5-step technique? Or what would be the best way to go about this if I want to meditate 2 times a day? So Gloria, great question. And so the way that the M word is designed is to actually give you that M word priming practice for your morning, and then that you're doing one of those guided visualizations in the afternoon. So that's what I would recommend as far as this program is concerned, is that you do your morning priming practice and then you do the most relevant guided visualization in the afternoon. But if you want to become a self-sufficient twice-a-day meditator, and if you're loving that effortless silence, and if you're finding yourself wanting to just dive right into that, then you would be a really good candidate to start Ziva Mind. So Ziva Mind is our training that we have over at Ziva, and that gives you a 15-minute twice-a-day practice, and it gives you a mantra that's more powerful than the word one, and it's basically like elongating and luxuriating in that effortless silence. And when you do it twice a day, the once a day is going to get rid of all the stress that you're picking up from the right now, but the twice a day is going to get rid of all the stress from the past. And so it's like taking things to the next level or to the next gear. So it sounds like you're craving that effortless silence, and it sounded like you want a practice that you could do on your own in the afternoons. So Ziva Mind might be a good option for you, and you can just check that out over at zivamind.com. Okay. So from Martina says, how can the M word technique be further improved? Do you recommend sticking to it as you taught us, or should we incorporate some other approaches as well? What can you suggest to introduce some varieties besides following the guided meditation? Okay, so Martina, so I would say for right now, for what the M word offers, again, it's that morning priming practice, the M word, and then you have all of those different guided visualizations from part 2 to choose from. And I would say, if you make sure you've done all of those, do them once or twice, see what resonates with you, and then you can start to cherry pick those as your life demands. And I would say, as far as building on top of this, after time, you can start to increase that effortless silence just a little bit. Easy does it, okay? So just a minute at a day. If you've been doing 5 minutes so far, you can kick it up to 6 and then 7. Someone wrote on one of the pages recently, she's like, I've been doing 30 minutes twice a day of the effortless silence. And I was like, whoa. That's way too much and way too long for the level of support that you guys have and for the level of training that we have. Now, the reason why that's too long is because that's going to just basically kick up too much dust. It's going to bring up too much unstressing, and you're going to find that you're too emotionally raw, and it's going to be tough to interact with people and tough to handle your job and your responsibilities and your families. So even if it feels tempting to do that, please hold off. I would want you to have more support, more guidance, and more face-to-face interaction if you're looking to meditate that intensely. which is awesome, and we can definitely do that. But if that is the case, I would recommend you come to New York or LA, and let's learn in person, and then we can really take a deep dive down the rabbit hole. But in the meantime, I would say, if you just want to gently increase that effortless silence, like a minute at a day, up till about 10 minutes of effortless silence, and you could do that in the middle of the whole M-word priming technique. Great. So Lauren is asking, now that we've completed the entire M-word course, would you recommend that we go straight into the Ziva meditation course, or wait a couple of months to practice the M-word and then look to go deepening our experience? Would doing both methods together serve our meditation life better? Great question, Lauren. So really, this is going to be up to you. And what I would recommend that you do here is what I call follow charm, right? Which is basically the Ziva way of saying listening to your gut. And you're going to know, right? When you're like, I just feel like I want to kick it up to the next level. I feel like I want to dive deeper. I feel like I want my own mantra. I feel like I want to meditate longer. I feel like I want to meet Emily face to face. When those desires start, getting pronounced, then that will be your own intuition telling you that it's time. I don't see there's nothing wrong with you going ahead and starting Ziva meditation or Ziva mind now. I think that the M-word will act as a great primer for that and will help you. And you've already peeled away so many layers of that stress so that when you do jump into Ziva mind or the in-person Ziva meditation training, that process is going to be a lot more elegant. And because you've already been exercising those discipline muscles of getting to the chair each morning, it's going to be easier for you to commit to the practice, which is awesome. But ultimately, I would say trust your gut and know that there's nothing wrong with, no conflict with you going ahead and starting right away, just as soon as it works for your schedule. But everyone's different. Other people might like to do the M-word for a couple of months and then kick it up a notch. So there's no rush, there's no last chances. But I would say whenever you start to get that little draw, that little voice inside, that'd be a good time. Good. So Jennifer says, can you talk us through your typical day in terms of meditations, rituals, to give us a concept of how to utilize what we can learn appropriately? So my typical day, it's interesting. So really, my meditation practice at this point in my life depends on who I'm teaching, how many times a day I'm teaching. So if I have 5 classes in a day, then I'll meditate 5 times. But I'll do a minimum, for me personally, I do a minimum of 20 minutes twice a day. And, I've been meditating now for a decade. And so I kind of mix it up in that I mix up my pre-meditation routine. So a lot of times I'll wake up, I'll have hot water, I'll brush my teeth, I'll do some tongue scraping, and then I'll do about 15 minutes of yoga into some Ayurvedic exercises, which is just like breath work, which I think someone posted on one of the groups. But you can check that out. If you want to find out like my morning, I have a whole video about my morning routine and my Ayurvedic exercises. And you can find that at zivameditation.com/Ziva Vault, like a vault. And that's where we have all of our videos and our blogs and our articles and every podcast I've ever done. And if you search in there morning routine or Ayurvedic exercises, you can see my whole situation, but I'll talk you through it now. So basically I wake up, brush my teeth, do some tongue scraping, make some hot water, and I'll either put lemon or apple cider vinegar in it, just a little bit to cut the acid in the stomach. And the apple cider vinegar is also probiotic, which is nice to help build healthy bacteria in the gut. And then I'll do about 10-15 minutes of yoga and then that breathwork exercise. And then I personally do balancing breath into my Ziva meditation. I'll do 20 minutes of the Ziva meditation technique. And then I'll do another 20 minutes somewhere in that mid-afternoon slump, like where I would have had like chocolate or coffee. I'm not really a coffee drinker, but back in the day, if I would have had coffee, or if I would have needed a nap, that's where I'll do my second meditation. But again, if I'm teaching, I'll do a little bit more, but I don't recommend more. So here's a really important point, you guys. More is not better when it comes to meditation, right? Like, but a lot of people want to speed it up. A lot of people want to just like, go as fast as they can on the road down enlightenment, which is awesome. But the trick is the more you meditate, if you're meditating for like an hour twice a day, if you do too much too fast, it can basically increase the rate of the unstressing, and it just kicks up too much old emotion, old stress, and then you find yourself kind of crying in the corner, and it's not that enjoyable. So the whole point of this thing is to enjoy our lives and to get better at life. So I hope that's helpful, but check out, it's called like Emily's Morning Routine, and then there's Ayurvedic exercises, and that's all in the Ziva Vault over at zivameditation.com. Okay, so this is our last question that people have already submitted. So if you want to start getting your questions ready and typing them in, I'll be taking those in just a moment. So this last one is from Virginia, and she says, I can see that staying committed is the key to success in this class and in anything. True that. Okay, so any tips on staying committed or suggestions on how to keep passionate and enthused about doing the practice? Okay, Virginia, 100%. You're so right on this. Like I was saying earlier, it doesn't matter how good the tool is if you don't pick it up and use it. This course could be the best training in the whole world. I could be the best teacher in the whole world. But if you don't actually meditate, then it's not going to change your life. So some things that I've found are really helpful in staying committed. The not so secret is actually scheduling it. I mean, pull out your very smartphone, look at your calendar and schedule the meditations. Put an alarm for beforehand, actually carve the space out of your day, because if you don't carve it out, if you don't put it on the schedule, it isn't real. I would recommend getting any sort of a partner, any sort of an accountability buddy, and they don't necessarily have to be from the M word. It could be your roommate, your partner, your neighbor, someone at your gym, and you don't even have to both be meditating. Like, you could set different goals for yourself. Like, if you have a friend who's trying to do a certain workout program, you could make a bet with each other and say, all right, well, the first person who misses a meditation or the first person who misses a workout owes the other one $100, or the person who goes the longest gets to pick where the family goes on vacation if you do something with your family. So I would say gamify it for yourself. Actually, we did a group meditation here in New York City at Ziva on Sunday, and there was these two women who took the course almost at the same time. And one woman said, when I miss, I don't want to beat myself up. I don't want to feel guilty. So if I miss, all I'm going to do is that I call my friend and I talk to her and we talk through the reasons why I missed. And then the other woman said, when I miss a meditation, I have to pay her $100 for every single meditation she misses. Now, I get that that's a lot of money, and you should have heard the reactions to everyone in the room. They were all aghast, and they were shocked that this woman was going to spend $100 every time she missed a meditation. But you guys, I want you to get really honest with yourself. And I want you to think about what the opportunity cost is of you missing a meditation. Now, I don't know about you, and I don't know what your pay grades are, and I don't know what you earn, but if we're going to quantify how valuable your brain machine is, right? Think about how much it costs you in opportunity, in joy, in productivity, in efficiency, and possibly even in money for you to be sick, tired, and stressed. My guess is it costs you more than $100. If you make a big mistake at work, the time that it costs you to fix that, if you make a bad hire at work, how much does it cost you to fix that? If you write an angry email without thinking about it, and then you feel bad about it for 3 days, and then you have to call the person and apologize, how much mental energy did that cost you? How much time did that cost you? And so I would actually argue that you missing a meditation is costing you a lot more than $100 a pop. So you can think about it in that way. But the other thing to get clear on is whether or not you are motivated by moving towards the positive or away from the negative. Now, a lot of people like to move towards a goal. They want to say okay, if I do this thing every day for the next 33 days, then I buy myself a pair of shoes, or I get to, I don't know, go on that special trip with my husband. Now, other people like to move away from the negative. All right, if I miss a meditation, then I have to donate money to this cause that I don't believe in. So just figure out which way you're motivated and set some goals for yourself and get some accountability around it. Good. So we got some questions coming in via text. So this one is from Laura. She said, thanks, Emily, for this amazing meditation course. Can I ask you, if I have to get up at 5:45 a.m. every morning, so I've been getting up earlier to do my meditation. If I have a bad night and I need my sleep, should I have, it's hard to understand this. If I was going to have a shorter session, what would you cut out? Or would you just shorten the whole thing? Okay, really good question, Laura. So I get it. Sometimes we just have a tricky night, and sometimes we don't get as much sleep as we want. But here's the thing that you got to remind yourself, and I have to remind myself this almost every single morning, that laying in bed snoozing and hating yourself, you're actually robbing yourself of 4 times the amount of rest that you could be getting if you get up and meditate. So the thing that you should shorten is sleep. It's better for you to miss 5 minutes of sleep than it is for you to miss 5 minutes of meditation. And honestly, you're not going to miss 5 minutes of sleep anyway. That's not going to make or break how rested you feel, but you will miss 5 minutes of the breath work. But I would say up to you. If you had to cut something, what would I cut out? Maybe come to your senses. So you would do that. You would do the balancing breath and then keep the effortless silence and keep the love bomb. But you could maybe cut out the come to your senses if you had to shorten it. But my preference would be that you miss 5 minutes of sleep and do come to your senses. But I understand sometimes it's tough to get up early, but just rip the Band-Aid, go to the bathroom, freshen up. And then by the time you're awake, by the time you've ripped that Band-Aid, then you kind of enjoy that meditation. And good for you for getting up at 5:45. It's really impressive. Also know that you getting up around dawn, like meditating with the sunrise is the most sacred time of day to meditate. So be proud of yourself. And I would recommend just opening up your blinds and just saying hello, even if it's just that beautiful dark blue that happens right before the sunrise. Just say hello to nature before you start your meditation. Okay, so this is from Ruby. She said, you move very fast in some of the videos. Is that the goal over time? So Ruby, there was one technical glitch in one of the videos where they didn't have as much of the effortless silence as there was meant to be. So if that is your marker, then no, that was a mistake, and I apologize for that. But usually the pace that I'm giving you in that M-word technique is about the pace that it wants to flow. If you find that your natural rhythm is a little bit slower than that, all good, don't sweat it. But it can be a little bit longer, few minutes shorter. Your body ultimately wants to start dictating that, but I don't want you to start doing it for like 20 or 30 minutes. Keep it approximately at the timing that is set, but your body will lead you. Okay, so Ben says, sometimes I do my meditation as soon as I wake up, in bed, before getting up. Is this okay? So Ben, better to actually put your feet on the ground, go to the bathroom, freshen up, brush your teeth, splash a little water on your face, and then you can come back to bed. So even if it's chilly out and you want to like snuggle up in the covers, you can come back to bed, but you just have to have your back supported and your head free. That's non-negotiable. And what I would not recommend is that you do this, just be asleep and it's like, meh, 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 and you hit the alarm and then you sit up and you start the M-word technique, because then you're just going to fall right back to sleep. So better to actually get up, freshen up, especially like eliminate your bowels and bladder, and then freshen up and then do your meditation. Good question though. And I know it's sneaky, but then what's going to happen is you're actually just snoozing, you're not meditating. So Christine is saying, I'm having a bit of trouble feeling the intense love during the love bomb. Do you have any suggestions for turning on a heart that seems to have shut off feelings? So Christine, don't sweat it. You're not alone, and your heart's not been turned off. I promise, really, truly. I don't really feel that much either during the love bomb. It's more about awakening your imagination and setting your intention to spread that love and goodness. It's not about how much you're actually feeling in the moment. But some things that you could play with are trying someone different, like trying a different person to see if that makes you feel just a little tiny sensation of love, or trying a dog or a cat or a baby, something that just makes you smile, or even like a character in a movie. Like I remember there's this moment in Shawshank Redemption when they play that song, when they're, they play that aria, what is it called? The Rose Duet from Lakme, and they play it over the loudspeakers in the prison. And it's one of my favorite movies in the entire like cinema history. And just thinking about that like brings me joy. And so it could be anything. If it's not a person that makes you feel feelings of love, really just anything that brings a little smile to your face, you could start with that and then just breathe in that sensation to your body. But it's more about your imagination and about your intention than anything else. So don't worry if you're not actually feeling waves of bliss and love. I don't really either. So nothing wrong with you. Okay, so Joe is saying, are there any issues with preceding the M word with another meditation practice such as yoga? Not at all. So yoga, Joe, I personally do some yoga before I meditate. And so if you have an asana practice, great, lovely. I would say that's a great time to do yoga, and it's also really nice to meditate right after you've done that. So yoga was actually designed to prepare the body for meditation. Asana is a Sanskrit word that means seat. And so each one of those poses is preparing the body to become a seat for meditation. So yeah, I would say go for it. Really, really good usage of your time. So Sarah is saying, what is the sixth sense that you refer to? So really that your sixth sense is just your intuition. It's your intuition. So, you'll hear people talk about this, like the sixth sense. It's not, it's not necessarily tactile, right? It's not something that you can like obviously see, hear, smell, taste, touch, but it's more of that like spidey sense. It's just that gut, that intuition, that knowingness that comes as a byproduct of you being so present in your body in this moment right here, right now. And so I would just have a little Google search actually and just look that up, and you'll find like better answers than I'm giving you right now. But really the way that I would refer to it is just your intuition, or that gut, just that knowingness, that still small voice inside of you. That's what I would call your sixth sense. Good. So Andrea is asking, are there benefits to doing the M word with your eyes open, or is eyes closed the advisable way? So Andrea, 100% eyes closed. Don't want to do the M word with your eyes open. Now, eventually, yes, after years and years of meditation, you're going to find that your right and left hemispheres of your brain are so integrated that your whole life becomes a meditation. And everything you do, you're going to be grounded in that calm, quiet, inner contentedness, which is great. And that's a lovely thing to start to move towards, to where everything we do becomes a bit of a waking state meditation. But for right now, the way that I use the word meditation, this is decidedly an eyes closed practice. So you're sitting still, back supported, eyes closed every time. That's pretty non-negotiable. And there are other techniques you can start to do with your eyes open later in the day. Like you could practice, blasting people with love with your eyes open, or really just listening so intently and taking all of them in. That's a nice practice to start to get into the habit of with your eyes open. So Melissa is writing, it's having such a big impact on my life. Good, great. I'm so glad to hear that. All of us are seeing differences day to day. Husband is healing some old wounds. Son is having more positive days. I'm seeing more peace in day-to-day chaos. Do you do the guided meditations after the M word when you need guidance, or at any time separately? So Melissa, first of all, thank you for sharing that. It really means a lot to me. I never get sick of hearing that, and it's really truly why we do what we do over at Ziva. And I'm glad that your whole family has been doing it together. I don't know that I have heard of any other families doing this together, so that's awesome. So the idea with the guided visualizations are, they're situational, right? So I recommend doing all of them so that you get a feel for what they are and how you can use them. And then next time you're in those situations, or if you know you have that situation coming up, then go ahead and schedule it and listen to it beforehand. But as you start to get the hang of it, and even as those visualizations start to become second nature, then you could just do like one of the power poses, or some of the breath work, or some of the like visualizing before you go on stage. Like you could do all of that on your own as well. But usually those things are situational. But if you like one of them and it just makes you feel good, then feel free to do that sort of as your second meditation of the day. Great. So Debbie is asking, is there a way to get our intuition to be more powerful, where I am more aware of it and able to use and trust it? So yeah, Debbie, there is. And the answer is doing the M word every day. So just waking up and meditating every day, come hell or high water, just non-negotiably getting to the chair every day. And then what you're going to be doing with regularity and with regular practice is just suturing and strengthening the connection between your right brain and your left brain. So your left brain is the decision-making part of you, the critical mind, but that right brain is the piece of you that is connected to everyone and everything. And that right brain is where we're getting our downloads from nature. It's where we're getting our intuition and our creative ideas. And so the more integrated the right and left hemispheres of the brain are, the easier it is for you to come up with all those creative ideas and to listen to that still small voice inside when it counts, when it's go time. And then the more you start to hear it and the faster you take action on it, the more you're going to strengthen your ability to trust that voice and really use your intuition. And then that becomes a really beautiful upward spiral, because the more you hear it and then the faster you take action, the more you're going to start getting those downloads. You guys might have heard, I have an interview with Vishen. I forget which interview it was, but I was wearing a red dress and he and I were sitting together, and I told this story about Michael Jackson, and about how Michael Jackson used to call his manager all the time at like 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And his manager would wake up and be like, Michael, what is it? And Michael would say, fireflies. And his manager would be like, what do you mean? He'd be like, fireflies. We need fireflies in the stage show. And his manager would say, Michael, we'll just do it tomorrow. And Michael would say, no, get up, write it down. And his manager would say, why? Why can't we just talk about this tomorrow? And then Michael would say, because if we don't do it, Prince will. And I love this story very much, because it's basically Michael understanding that once you get those downloads, once you get those ideas, it's your job to bring them into fruition. It's your job to take action. And if you don't, then someone else will. Because creativity isn't prejudice, right? Like, creativity doesn't care which one of us births the idea. It's just looking for people who are awake and those who are taking action. And the beautiful thing about this style of meditation is that you're giving yourself rest so that you can be more and more awake, so that nature starts paying more and more attention to you. You guys might have heard me say this before, but nature pays attention to those who are awake. And so the more awake we are, the more of these ideas and these directives that we're getting from nature, and then we become braver and we start bringing these ideas into fruition, and then we start getting more and more of them, and that's when it becomes this beautiful upward spiral. So the good news is you're already doing it. It's just staying in the saddle and regularity of practice. That's going to strengthen that intuition. Okay, so Anand, in the New York City subway picture of you meditating, you have your legs crossed. Is that recommended, or do you recommend that legs are not crossed? So Anand, I was in public and I was wearing a dress, which is why my legs are crossed. So I just didn't want to be, not a lady. My mom would not be happy about that. I am Southern after all. But when you're in public, I would say just do whatever feels comfortable. Like, I recommend not drawing that much attention to yourself in public. So if you're sitting down, even going like this, like with your hands on your lap with your palms facing up, like this looks weird in public, and people are like, oh, they're meditating. Hey, are you meditating? What is that? And they're going to ask you all these questions. But if you just sit with your hands down on your lap, then no one even knows you're meditating. They just think you're listening to music or having a snooze, and then you're much more inconspicuous. But you can sit however feels comfortable for you. A lot of people do prefer to have their feet on the ground, but I don't notice an energetic difference. Sometimes my legs are crossed on a couch, sometimes they're on the floor, sometimes I'll cross my legs if I'm in public, but really just comfort is key. However feels best for you. Good question. So Anita, please give us a good definition for meditation. This is required for those whom we teach. Okay, so Anita, tell me more. Are you a meditation teacher? Have you trained to be a teacher somewhere else? If so, I would love to know about that. And I'm happy to give a definition of meditation. But the thing is, there's thousands of them. But I'll give you my definition of meditation. But before I do, I just want to clarify that going through this M-word technique, this is designed to give you a self-sufficient practice. This is designed so that you can have your own practice. This course is not nearly expansive enough or exhaustive enough for me to feel comfortable with you guys teaching this practice. Now I know it's super simple, but we don't want to confuse simplicity with weakness, right? And I actually do have a teacher training starting at Ziva in the fall, if you guys are interested in it, but it's not a joke. It's pretty intense, and it requires a lot of commitment and a lot of time. And I 100% believe we need to get the world meditating, but we want to get the world meditating with the right kind of support and with the right kind of instruction and education. So there's that. But my definition of meditation, the simplest version of meditation, is that it's a stress relieving tool, right? That's it. It's a tool to help you get rid of stress in your body. And the less stress you have in your body, the easier it is for you to perform at the top of your game. So there's that. But this particular style that we're doing here at the M word, we're doing a bit of a combination. We have a combination of what I would call like dhyana, which is Dhyanna. Dhyana, which is like a deep, restful meditation. And then we have quite a few mindfulness and breathing techniques that we do in part 2. And I'm wanting people to expand their vocabulary and to really get very specific with what words they choose around meditation. Because right now meditation has become a bit of an umbrella term, and people just call anytime they have their eyes closed meditation, or they don't even have to have their eyes closed now. They're like, well, I'm walking meditation, and now I'm doing a book reading meditation, and now I'm doing a scrolling through Facebook meditation, and now I'm doing a dishwashing meditation, and now I'm doing a singing a song meditation. And I just don't understand why everybody wants to call all that stuff meditation. That's called singing a song, or washing dishes, or scrolling on Facebook, or reading a book. Like, they already have their own verbs and words. I personally am a bit of a meditation snob, and what I personally call meditation is when you're actually accessing a verifiable fourth state of consciousness, different than waking, sleeping, or dreaming. And that's that dhyana that I talked about. And what you learn when you come take the full course at Ziva, you learn something called nishkam karma meditation, which basically means union attained by action hardly taken. So it's the lazy man's meditation. So we don't have to work too hard or focus our minds or control our minds too much. Good. So Amy says there's so many different meditation practices from different lineages. Are they all for the same purpose of finding union? Man, really good question, Amy. And like big picture, yes, 100%. Like if we pull the lens way, way back, then yes, all meditations are doing the same thing. And yes, all roads lead to Rome, right? And I think we mentioned this on the last call, but one of the fundamental concepts of the Vedas is that there's only one thing and we're all it. And that one thing is consciousness. And so in my personal opinion, like the reason why the singularity broke, the reason why the unmanifest came into the manifest, the reason that the one became two was for the joy of becoming one again. Right? It's like this universality, this cosmic abyss of black hole nothingness breaks the symmetry of being in the unmanifest and starts to bring itself into the manifest. So we are all these different waves on this giant ocean that is the collective consciousness of all that is. And what I mean is that the one became two for the joy of becoming one again. So that wave separates from the ocean and it thinks that it's an individual, but it does that for the joy of becoming one again, for the joy of remembering that there really truly is only one thing and we're all it. And this happens again and again and again. Every time you fall in love, and every time you see a good movie or read a good book, what you're doing is that you're reminding yourself that there's only one thing and we're all it. When you go see a movie, when you're moved by something, it's because you identify in some way with the protagonist. Or if you're scared of something, it's that it's waking up some sort of fear inside of you. And so, and even with meditation, it's like when we have a meditation practice, we're unioning with that reality, with that right brain reality that there's only one thing and we're all it. And in the beginning, it's an either or phenomenon. So you're either in your waking state or you're in that meditation. But over time, what we're interested in is integration. But yes, there's so many different styles. And it's not that one is better than the other. It's just that they tend to be better for different people at different times in their lives. So as you guys have heard me say before, mindfulness is derivative of monastic styles of meditation. So that means they were originally made for monks, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just a lot of times if you are a householder, someone with a busy mind and a busy life, and you're trying to practice monastic styles of meditation, you might find them frustrating because you're not able to focus or clear your mind or stay silent. And if you guys remember all the questions that we covered at the beginning of this call, you were noticing a lot of people feeling frustrated with themselves because they couldn't clear their minds or they couldn't stay silent. And this is because most people who are practicing meditation or have heard about it are doing derivations of monastic styles. And that's why I'm so biased towards this style, because thoughts are not the enemy, which makes it a lot easier. You can be a lot gentler with yourself, which ultimately makes it easier and faster to get to that place of unity. Okay, so we've got 3 more questions. And Tracy is saying, I'm still not able to sleep through the night and have been committed to my practice for the last 30 plus days. What can you suggest? Okay, so Tracy, are you using the sleeps? There's a guided visualization for sleep. I would say, download that on your phone, have it to where you can play it even on airplane mode. And I would do that right before bed. I would also make sure that you're doing, the M word technique first thing in the morning. And I would also recommend getting magnesium, a supplement of magnesium, and something called magnesium oil. So the magnesium supplement that I recommend is by a company called Metagenics. They make something called mag glycate, and you can take that about 30 minutes to an hour before you go to bed. And magnesium is cool because it's a supplement that most of us are deficient in anyway, and so a lot of us need it as a supplement anyway. So you take that 30 minutes or an hour before bed, and then when you actually get in bed, take that magnesium oil and rub it on your hands and your feet and your belly, and then listen to that sleeps visualization. And if that doesn't help, then you reach out to me. You can email info@zivamind.com, and we can share some other tips and techniques. Good. So a few more questions, and then if you guys want to start sharing already, I'd love to hear what your big takeaways are from this call, from our last call together. And you could even say from the whole course, like if you're thinking back on the 33 days, like what aha moments have you had? What shifts have you started to notice in yourself? And what I'm more interested in is what's happening for you with your eyes open, rather than what's happening with your eyes closed. So Yael is saying, I still use the day 12 recording. I've tried several times to do it on my own, but have trouble not taking shortcuts, shortening the time and staying present. Any suggestions on moving away from the guidance? I'd love to be able to not rely on internet or phone or anything. So me too, Yael. I would love for you to be self-sufficient, especially with that M word. But everybody's different. Everybody does it in their own time. So I'd say use it until it becomes just second nature. And then when it really feels like it's in your bones, then just go with what your body is dictating. If it shortens one thing and lengthens another, if it's a few minutes longer or shorter here or there, then that's all good. Just go with it. But know that each thing has its purpose, that it's not arbitrary, but each body is different. So do it until it's in your bones, until you know it backwards and forwards. And then I'd recommend trying a couple days without my guidance and then going back for a couple of days. And then one day off, one day on, one day off, one day on. And each day you can kind of, self-correct and adjust. But you'll get there. And I love that that's your intention, to be self-sufficient. And in the meantime, just use the recording until you feel like really confident. Okay, so Mike is asking, is there any extra benefit by doing the Ziva Mind course next? Yes, Mike. So Ziva Mind and the M word are different. They're not the same course. And there will be a little bit of repeat. Like there are just some fundamental concepts about meditation that you'll hear again in Ziva Mind. But you're going to get a deeper, more powerful meditation practice. And really, truly, Ziva Mind is designed to make you totally self-sufficient, to where you don't need me anymore. And I cut the cord much earlier in Ziva Mind. But what's happening is when you start to get more powerful mantras, they act as an anchor that really help to de-excite your nervous system. So it makes that effortless silence so much more powerful, and it makes it easier to luxuriate in that effortless silence for longer. And in Ziva Mind, I'm teaching you how to do it twice a day. And like I was saying earlier, once a day meditation is good enough to handle all the stress from the right now. But the twice a day practice is going to help you to get rid of all those old stresses in your body, which is really the thing that starts to up-level your state of consciousness very quickly. So a lot of Ziva Minders report that just their performance abilities increase very quickly. They report, getting off their anxiety meds, and their sleep gets better, their sex gets better, which PS is going to be happening with the M word as well. It's just the M word is, because we've been doing micro learning, and because part 2 is more situational and about using it for real life situations, whereas Ziva Mind is more about giving you a self-sufficient twice a day grounded meditation practice. Good. So people are starting to write in with their takeaways, which I love. And so again, if you have anything that you want to share, big aha moments, breakthroughs, challenges that you busted through, this is the time to share them. And I'm going to read some of them now. So Linda is saying, meditation has benefited me so very much. I kept the practice going during a cattle roundup. Do you mean a literal cattle roundup? Before I even got out of my cot, I sat up and just began. I could feel the benefits. As the only female there, and with a cast of characters with some charge, I felt way more resilient. Muchas gracias. It is my absolute pleasure, Linda. And that's crazy. I want to know what a cattle roundup is now. Were you actually with like cowboys and cowgirls? That's awesome. And I'm glad that it helped you perform better, because that's the whole point of this thing. So thank you for sharing. So William is saying, eyes open, I'm noticing that I'm accessing more and more different people because I'm aware that I have a bias from the prior experience, which prevented me from interacting with them. Whoa, so this is mega, William. Yeah, and I love this. Because you guys might have heard me talk about on Mind Valley, I did like a guided visualization for unity to help heal some of the political drama that's been coming up for people. I guess the stress around the political drama is a better way of saying that. And I do have this hypothesis that if we can get a significant portion of the world meditating, that it's going to help people be less racist, less politically biased, less nationalistic. Because what happens when you start meditating is through no effort of your own, you start seeing more of yourself inside of others and more of others inside of you. And I just think that makes you less of a jerk. You know, it just makes you nicer to people when you start to see that, oh, as I hurt you, I hurt myself. And as I help you, I help myself. And so I'm so glad that that's been your experience. That's awesome. So Penny saying, love the class, and you've made a fabulous difference in my life. Thank you, Penny. I'm so glad. And I'd be curious to know how, like what has changed for you. And also, you guys, some people did send in some of their data. They had some sleep data pre and post. So if you have any, body data monitoring devices like a Fitbit or a Jawbone or even like a sleep tracker, if your sleep has changed since starting this and you have pre and post data or visuals, I would love, love, love to see those. That's really exciting for me. And you can email those over to info@zivamind.com. So Barb is saying, love, come to your senses. I feel more grounded and aware during the day. Awesome. And Amanda is saying, thank you so much for the M word. I've been able to use it on my own, and I love the exercises beforehand. I feel so invigorated afterwards. I believe that I'm much calmer and more mindful of my actions and emotions. I notice that I do still get stressed, but I'm able to handle it better and faster. Thank you. Okay, so this is great. I'm so happy you're able to handle it. And just a gentle reminder for you and for everybody is that it's okay to get stressed. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to be jealous. All that stuff is okay. That's called being a human, right? And the tricky thing now that we're finishing this course is that it's tempting to want to get into a story of like, well, I'm meditating now, so I'm never going to cry, or I'm meditating now, so I should never feel jealous or angry or sad. But that's not true, and it's not the case. That stuff's still going to happen. You're still going to be human. And if anything, the meditation is going to make you more sensitive. But what I've noticed is that you just start to feel faster, and then you move through to the new now. And P.S., it's not bad for you to get stressed. It's terrible for you to stay stressed. And the whole reason that we designed this course was to give you tools to move yourself out of this chronic stress, because that's really the thing that becomes damaging over time. Good. So you guys, I cannot tell you how much I've enjoyed our time together, how moved I've been by your experiences, by your bravery, and by you trusting me to guide you on this quest. I want you to take a minute and give yourself a giant internal high five for signing up for this, for investing in yourself, for committing to the practice. And you guys are here at the very end. You're crossing the finish line, right? Like this is the last thing that we're going to do together for now, unless you come see me over at Ziva, New York or LA. But a lot. I mean, think about how many hundreds of thousands, maybe even 1 million people saw ads for this or saw the webinar for this. And probably at least, there's over 1 million people that probably got the email. And then of those 1 million people, how many opened it? And of those hundreds of thousands, how many invested in the course? And then of the 2,500 people that took the course, how many are here on day 34 after we even finished on day 33? And how many of you guys are on this call actually crossing the finish line? So I want you to give yourself a huge, huge congratulations and a high five. You should be so proud of yourself. And know that this is just the beginning, right? It's the end of this training, but we're just beginning this new chapter of your life as a meditator. And yes, the training has been delightful and I've enjoyed interacting with you so much, but the value in this thing really comes not in the training, but in the practice, in the cumulative and spontaneous benefits that are going to start to come as a byproduct of you getting your buns in the chair every day, non-negotiably. And what I can tell you for sure is that the benefits of this are going to start to be cumulative. They're going to build on top of each other, but you got to do it. You got to put it in the non-negotiable category, like brushing your teeth or sleeping or eating. All right, friends, I'm so proud of you. Go out, clean your own house so that your light can shine so, so bright for everyone around you. And know that as you heal yourself, you help to heal the collective. And the brighter you shine, the more worthy inquiry you're going to inspire in the people around you. So go lead by example, deliver a lot of bliss and kindness. And I'm so thrilled to have shared this experience with you. I'll see you soon. Bye.